Today we are going to be talking to you about second man press on FC24, right stick switching, and overall just how to defend. This is taken from a coaching session from a 14 wins player in Foot Champions, which will go in depth on how you need to defend on this game. Let's jump into it. First year on new gen, got 19-1 last year on old gen, but this year 14-6. We're starting to defend. My biggest weakness, that's holding sprint too much. All right, sweet. Let's rock and roll. So these are the sort of areas straight away, especially going on to what like GG was saying, of where you cannot use second man press. So if you wanted to always constantly try and use this midfielder to kind of protect into these sort of middle lanes, you can do. And then you can hold R1, RB on Xbox, R1 on PlayStation for that second man press. It will normally grab the player that is closest to the ball. What it means is you can apply pressure here and keep protecting the middle and keep moving. So like when this comes through and you drive back and you wanted to move into here, can you see how you're wanting to cover these lanes? If you're holding R1 at this same time, you're still applying pressure to the ball holder here. Right now, the AI is kind of like, they're kind of half there, they're kind of half not. They're not really active. You're not making them engage. You're not getting them involved. So already, I'll be wanting you to use a bit of second man press here to cover off those lanes. Good defending over the good tackle out for the corner. Good. Nice. Good ball. Drive. I actually really like that. I really like that purely for the simple fact of, like, you're getting into this area now. It's a really tight angle to score from, but Salah on his left foot, there's a chance. But mainly you're playing here for a rebound, for the corner, like, you know, just trying to get it out more than anything. The only other alternative you have here is trying to fake in this defender, maybe looking for like a shot cancel to come back onto the inside, and then looking for a quick Travella. You are then obviously going to be pressed from here, so then it's whether you can get the shot off quick enough or whether you go back into Dembele or whoever. But I don't mind the gamble shot. You get a corner out of it, it's good enough. You'd rather play on something than nothing. What I'm thinking straight away here is this is how I would approach this scenario, right? Alawarian, you switch to him. Great. Fantastic. Start sprinting at him like a headless chicken by applying pressure. You're applying pressure, but you do it in a smart way. So you don't just say run into here. What you do is he's got three options. So he's got option number 1. He's got option number 2. And then on the mini map down here at the bottom is option number 3, which is just the left winger down here, right? If you stand in front of the lane of Declan Rice, like this is a passing lane, right? If you press like that to cover that lane, that's really good. Like, you know, we're really happy with that. If you just ran down like this and he was in there, then he just passed the ball into Declan Rice and beat the press. So you have to always try and cover a passing lane. So when you start applying pressure, you will first apply the pressure by thinking about where's the passing lane and you cover that off. And as you keep going, once you get about halfway, what you can then do is you can look to right stick switch onto where you may think the next pass is going to be. So say if he positions his body to possibly come back in and look to go into here, you would then right stick switch from Alawarian into Salah, hold second man press so Alawarian keeps pressing the ball holder, and then you cover off that next pass. More than likely, most people here want to be progressive. They want to go forward. So they're going to look for this pass into here. So as Alawarian gets there, you would then switch over to your right back and basically get ready to be touch tight on that pass into the lane by then using second man press. Because obviously we don't really do that. We put that pressure on there. He then goes forward and then he gets into this area. We could again do some second man press in hoping that it grabs this player here. Again, we talk about second man press and it not being the most like consistent thing. It may grab Alawarian, it may grab this player. Theoretically, the way I always treat it is it grabs the player that's closest to the ball. That normally tends to be goal side. Not always the case though, which is why it might grab this player here. But say if it grabbed Varane, you just let go of R1, let the ball play for half a second, and then re-enable it and try and get it onto the player that you want. Then that way, you're kind of double teaming here, forcing him to come back out. You then obviously can cover that ball with Walker. Here, good defending, good stand-up. Good enough. And like, again, you might now want to go, okay, I want to apply pressure onto the ball holder. Do get Kyle Walker to come forward ever so slightly. I'm not saying hold it all the way down. So like he obviously presses for those 4 seconds and then Kyle Walker comes there. All you might do is press it for a second, get him to come there and just be 2 yards away rather than being, what, 5 yards away, which is a lot bigger of a gap. And then once you get him that little bit closer, if the opponent dawdles, you could then tap L1, switch back to Kyle Walker, and then try and catch him in a quick tackle. People are aware of who you're controlling. So if you do a quick switch and then tackle him, he might not, you know, read it as easier. Like you did there, basically, is the same sort of thing. as the same principle. Good ball out. Again, some second man press here. Second man press. Look, this is a fine example. You know how here you want to press with Dembele? Why can you not cover this lane here with Haaland like you're trying to do and also hold R1 for Dembele to pressure the ball holder? And then, as you've covered this player and Dembele's gotten closer, you tap L1, you go back to Dembele, and you try and tackle the ball and win the ball yourself. You know? Musiala for me, MM. This here is super interesting. Basically, you've just lost the ball with Alarian. So now Alarian is out of the game. Like, you know, you press there and he's out of the game. Like, he isn't in this area to drop back. When you lose the ball in these sort of positions now, this should be more of like a retreat scenario rather than be an aggressive scenario. Like, you're not going to win the ball here. Look how far away Goretzka and Kudus are from one another. This should be okay, let me get Goretzka back, let me get Declan Rice back, and let's get ready to defend and let's get ready to regroup. But instead, you step up and you think he's going to go backwards into here, into this lane. You should just be running all the way back to reduce the gap between your centre midfielders and your centre backs to try and make it really difficult to play in between. And because of that, now we can get the ball into there. You step up with the fullback. He then obviously just keeps driving. Varane has to come over for the fullback step. You're really late on the switches, to be honest. I think when he tucks back in now, again, like, you could right stick switch here into Goretzka, pull Goretzka back manually, and you could hold R1 for second man press. I sound like a broken record, but it's going to be so much like better for you in these areas, because it's like you're in a WWE wrestling match and a tag team wrestling match, but never tagging in your teammate. Like, you're making the game so much harder for yourself when you're just pressing with one player rather than two. So again, going back to the principle of, it will grab the player that is goal side of the ball and closest to the ball. So that's where right stick switching comes in, because you can pull Goretzka back to get him back goal side and bring him back into the game, and then you can press with there. So now you're pressing from both angles and trying to force the opponent to turn away and go backwards like he does there anyway. You're kind of in the lane, so you're a little bit unfortunate not to intercept that. You come across, no second man press again. Like, in this stand up, if you second man press here, Kyle Walker, you stand up again. What are you doing? You're covering from this angle, meaning all you have to do with Saliba is get ready to cover this angle and this pass, because Kyle Walker's going to cover that angle on that drive. It's good feet from him. Just again, the lack of respect from yourself, I think, to not be putting pressure on with two players is pretty crazy. You know the last chance that the opponent had, this seems to be a recurring habit for you. But that press there is fine. I would prefer you to switch two options. If you're going to switch to Kyle Walker, keep him goal side and let the opponent take the touch in there. What I would do is switch into the centre mid, move the centre mid to put pressure onto there, and hold second man press for Kyle Walker to press the ball holder. So then you're getting ready for that simple give and go that so many players will look for in here. Because your tendency right now with your right back and your left back is for you to try and get ahead of the player before this ball gets here. And what's happening is you're just getting caught ever so slightly. If this wasn't Kyle Walker here, you don't get back that quick. You know, it's just thankful that it's Kyle Walker and you give yourself that chance. So just something to be mindful of on what you're doing with the right back and left back. Good. I'm looking forward to seeing in the second half. I've got a feeling you're going to be a player that attacks on the side of the pitch, mainly where the camera angle is, so where it's closer. You have very, very rarely in this first half got into this side of the screen. It'd be interesting to see if you stay up here long. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is what, at the minute, Neil needs. You know here, when you get into this position, just look at this screenshot. If you could just press with one player, then this would be fine. But you can't. You can press with two. You need to be grabbing Declan Rice or Goretzka, moving him into that lane, coming over. Again, remember what I said earlier on about the passing lanes and covering the passing lanes. Moving him into the lane, holding R1. So Kyle Walker gets that press. Again, it might go Alarian. So then you let go of it and then you tap it again and you try and get it back onto the right back. And you apply pressure from that angle, to then force him to turn down, to go back, to turn on the inside, to get caught, whatever. ask more questions of the opponent with what you're doing here. Like, you're not... It's just too passive. It's way too passive. Like, the step up with Kyle Walker's good, but now he's beat you. And then look at these guys. These, you know the Sam Allardyce meme of him stood there, you know, when he was managing, and he does that, like he's looking up at the fish and chip shop. You know, he's going, oh, I'll have a kebab with my chippy. This is what these are doing right now. They're literally standing there, daydreaming about what they're going to have for dinner, what they're going to do. They're not doing anything. You need to take ownership of that and go, okay, how can I get them more involved? Well, I can manually select him, pull him back, and then use that second man press to at least engage 2 players at one time. Really good tackle from Kyle Walker. So, GG asked about this kind of earlier on, about centre mids. You don't need to select the centre mid here. You can right stick switch from Alawarian into Salah and pull Salah back and press from behind. The reason why you can do this is because right now there isn't a forward pass on into the middle. Like, yeah, if he takes a touch and then goes, he can go out towards the wing, and again, that's a fine ball. But if you can grab one of your strikers to come back and press from behind and put that pressure, it can make it really difficult for the opponent to play in. But you see how now you step up with Goretzka, and then if he beats that, there's now a gaping hole for him to play into. He can lay that ball, Neymar can go into there, you have to then come over, and you just put yourself into a little bit more of a sticky scenario. And from that, he works into the 18-yard box and should score. Like, should score. Literally, all comes from you just being super aggressive with Goretzka. Like, the press there was fine. Then get onto Salah and then pull Salah back. He's going to drive here. And again, what could you do if he does drive and you get Salah and Salah gets a little bit close, and you could enable second man press and then switch back to the man in the middle and then keep them goal side and keep them on that side of the ball. But you step up, he beats it with ease, and then that's it. Bang. Like... So it's just not needed. Like, you don't need to be in that position. Also, it's to the situation that we're in, right? We're 3-1 up here. We can be more patient. We don't have to be super aggressive in the middle of the park with the pressing. We don't need to make any unnecessary mistakes. Keeping your centre mids and protecting the centre backs as best as you can is going to be so much more worth it for you in a game where you're winning 3-1. Now, if we're 3-1 down and it's the 75th minute, it's a different story. You're going to need to be more aggressive. But the principle remains the same of what we can do with Salah. You panic tackle ever so slightly here as well. So, like, he beats that, gets in. It's a good switch. It's a good stand-up. And then you just press tackle here when you didn't need to. I'll be interested to see your controller input. I think you can actually just buy yourself some time here and just basically press L2, and you don't need to hold sprint. I think you hold L2 and sprint there that little bit, and then you try to recover, which then captures it. In these sort of areas, you can actually have like an instant reaction of, I am going to keep my player goal side here, and I'm going to basically let go of the left analog stick and just hold L2. And what you're doing is just saying, okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to take this touch? Are you going to look for a skill move? You're going to lay it off, keeping your player goal side in a obviously solid back four, which you have, and standing him here, holding LT, and basically just waiting to see where does he go. So if you didn't do that motion to come down and you just stood there, you'd actually just be chilling. And then it means if you went that way, well, Varane's there. If he goes that way, Saliba's there. You've got the options to kind of cover it. I also think you needed to hold X there with the advanced defending, if that's what you're using, Neil, as he drives past you there with Varane. You see how you just didn't, like, you didn't do anything? Like here in this moment, now hold X. Look for that shoulder barge. That's where you got to use that strength of Varane. You've missed out on a massive feature with advanced defending by not holding X there. If you need any further help on FC24, click this video right here and we will give you that.